I'm Major 7 with the New Old Heads, and this is episode 491. On this episode, we talked about Open Mike Eagle's take on the Atlantic article on AI theft in music, Boots Riley talking radicalism in music, art, and life with Hassan Piker, and more. Support the show and get our uncut 2-hour episode without ads by becoming a $5 Patreon or YouTube member. Please make sure that you click the bell and turn on all notifications, and we'll see you in the comments. Peace. You're now tuned into the New Old Heads podcast. I am Major 7th. The family is in the building, starting off with my man Jay Moore. How are you, good sir?
You know, LL said it best. Don't ask me how I'm living, because, I'm looking swell.
I heard that. My man Lonegevity is here. Hey, buddy.
Howdy.
Thanks.
Okay.
Alrighty. My man DJ Jay Diff. What's happening, man?
Salutations.
Everything good your way?
Easy breezy.
Like that, man. Everybody right to the point.
Beautiful cover girl.
Yeah.
I didn't need that part, but whatever. Shout out to my man Gobo in the building, aka the champ. I had another likeness for you, but I forgot it, so we'll do it next time, or maybe later on the show if I can remember. And it matches better than Sir Duncan. Good to see you, brothers. As always. You don't have anything to say? Okay. What's this? 491?
491.
That's what it is.
Man, that's a lot of episodes.
Whole heap of them.
Whole heap of them.
Someone asked me one time, because there are the people who will call and they're just trying to get a sample of your voice, and they said, "Are you worried about that sort of thing?" I was like, "There's about 400 episodes of my voice out there."
At this point,
Ben stopped worrying about that.
Yeah. If they wanted to train,
I've already trained it.
Yeah, basically.
I literally
Lon
have.
is a savage man.
No,
He's
like literally,
serious, though.
we use it for a promo. So
Yeah.
So it's too late for me to get worried about such things.
Yeah.
What's that fun?
I mean, we literally used AI last week too. The AI thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
What's
I guess
that?
you can call it
We're in
AI.
the
But
Matrix.
What's that Fonte line, man? Rabbit farming. You know the line I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Hair raising. So you just voice farming? Is that what you're doing? You just training voices and keeping them for yourself?
yeah,
Okay.
as
Well,
necessary.
that's cool.
I mean, I am the executive producer of the New Old Heads podcast.
There you go.
And I have trained every one of your voices
I'm sure you have.
in case I ever need to use them.
Well, at least we know.
I mean, there are. I mean, that's what the tool is for.
Mhm.
It's like, all right, cool. If in post production something happens to where something gets kind of janky, I can, if I have your voice models trained, I can literally go in there with my microphone, say the same thing that you're saying,
Yeah.
and then it could just be overlaid on top of your face. Remember what happened to the Odyssey interview that we did years ago, where you had to re-record certain things
Yes.
over and over again?
Yes.
Same type of thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
Technology is
As
One
crazy.
of the only good things.
as a
of
tool,
AI,
like I'm
yeah.
not training Jay-Z's voice, and
No.
we're not
Yeah.
trying to do that. We're doing ourselves.
We ain't recording albums. And
That part.
That's what the tool's for. What it should be used for. So many of you may have seen, I shared this mid last week, but The Atlantic revealed that an AI watchdog, which revealed AI music theft, essentially. And so it was kind of a bombshell in a way that revealed a few different AI trainers that were scraping metadata and training AI systems from copyrighted material. Interestingly enough, these data sets don't include what Suno and Udio have done, which are two of the ones involved in the class action lawsuits, especially with the one with Top Music Attorney. Here's a video from Open Mike Eagle talking about it a little bit, and then there's a handful of conversations to see if we can dive a little bit deeper into this.
This is The Atlantic, and they have this vertical called AI Watchdog, The Atlantic's ongoing investigation of the books, videos, and other media used by the world's most powerful tech companies to train their AI models. So basically, you search for an author, a musician, a YouTube channel, a screenwriter, an actor, and see what works of theirs have been documented to have been used for AI training. I ain't get no email. I didn't get no survey. I didn't get no phone call. I didn't get no text message. Nobody hit me on my pager. Landline didn't ring. Didn't get a telegram. For 184 songs in one set and 162 songs in the other. Not asked in any way for any permission or any knowledge that this was happening at all. So that feels up. Again, when our society springs into action, when certain types of property is being with in any way, already living in a society where music has been devalued a ton to begin with. It's like an extra slap in the face to have your music that you're barely being paid for used to train AI music generators that are going to seek to replace us wholly in the marketplace anyway, when we're already not making shit. It's going to be ultimately, well, what way Spotify wants it anyway. They want to be able to own the copyrights to the AI work that nobody made, so that basically it can pay itself royalties every month instead of having to pay musicians or copyright holders. Ultimately, that's what they want to do with it. So it kind of sucks to know that music that was made by human beings and containing real emotions and real experiences, or dumb shit about haircuts, if that's how I was inspired that day, that it'll be used for those purposes, and I seemingly have no say in the matter whatsoever.
It was a nice sequence of words from Open Mike Eagle.
I'll say so.
So yeah, he said a lot there, and I'm going to break down kind of what he had to say here into 3 different kind of questions to pose. With the first one, if tech companies are scraping millions of copyrighted songs for AI training, which we know, without ever asking for permission, what does this say for independent music ownership in the future, and even intellectual property from that perspective?
It says there, no, you don't own anything.
Yeah.
Your art that you produce, and if you put it out in any way digitally, you just have to prepare to have it stolen and have someone create from what you've created. No, I mean, can't even say create, because AI can't create anything. It can only take bits and pieces and just bite off of you.
Yeah.
And be prepared to not only know about it. That's the crazy thing, because I think a lot of people thought, okay, well, we can do this, and no, I mean, how are they going to find us?
Yeah.
But of course, technology, it's just like, what's his name said in Jurassic Park? He's like, we'll find a way.
I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
And so this is sad. This is genuinely sad, because it was one thing when you didn't know you were being stolen from, but now there's technology that lets you know, yeah, you're being stolen from. There's nothing you can do about it, and you're probably going to be stolen from some more. And you just have to deal with it. And the little hay pennies that we were paying you, you should be thankful to even have those. And I think that's remarkably sad.
Yeah,
I think being a person that did a search and finding one of my own records in there, it was very disheartening to see that, because I saw Lone's initial post in his stories.
Yeah.
So I said, let me see what my brother's talking about, man. Let me do a little research, just real quick. And
It was your Evils record with
Add 2. And I said, oh, okay, this is what he was talking about. I think you and our brother Pete Sake had 2 that popped up.
We had 2. I had another one that I produced from like 2009.
Okay.
Yeah. At least for this particular data set. The crazy thing is this is for something that is defunct now.
Yeah.
It's not even Suno or Udio.
Yeah.
And it only trained off of a total of like 20 million records.
But
I have like 400 records that I'm sure in other data sets are probably,
for sure.
You know what I mean? So
now that we see, but it's an eye opener to be able to see yourself at least pop up in one of these searches. To me, it's eye opening. It kind of goes back to what Jay Moore was talking about. It's kind of like it's a scary feeling, because you put your art out obviously for people to enjoy, and it's just something that you're passionate about. But the scary side or the spooky side of that is what we just saw, and it felt kind of weird to see that. I'm not gonna lie to you. It felt kind of weird to see that pop up. It's almost like, damn, y'all at least could have told me, like he was talking about in the video. Just I'll let your boy and just at least let me know that this was referenced in some way or fashion. But
and how am I going to be compensated?
That's the part.
That's the IP part.
That's the part.
Yeah.
That's the IP part. It's like, it's one thing to say like, what does this say for independent? People are always going to make music.
True.
That's going to be a thing, right? But if the intellectual property that artists are making is perpetually being utilized without any type of legal ramifications, if I can, if I can reject AI, but if I just put it out there into the marketplace and somebody can just steal it and put it into something without any repercussions and take it, what does that say about intellectual property?
True.
You know, what if somebody takes our likenesses and the stuff that we're doing here and then creates their own podcast called the Old New Heads?
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing, you know, and this is kind of the stuff that I've kind of been preaching for a while about AI is like, you know, it's not that the tools aren't cool. The tools are cool, but there's no protections for the artists in this. And what does that do to society, you know?
Yeah, the only way that I think that you could combat this situation is to literally just unplug from the matrix. Like you would, but there's no way to do that because you have to have your music readily available to people that are going to listen to it. So even if you didn't even put it online and you put it on USBs and CDs even or vinyl, somebody can rip that and put it online.
Put it right online. Yep.
So it's kind of like there's no way around or being able to avoid the AI situation.
There is, I mean, at the end of the day, this is illegal.
Right.
So I think the answer is that, you know, it is the class action lawsuits. It is us in general as people pushing back against this as much as possible and not being lying dormant in it and just saying, oh, this is the way that it is. Like we have to be, artists, in my opinion, have to be the front line of this. And we have to be very staunchly against what this is. And we have to let people know that no, it isn't just like a thing where you know, just have to deal with it. Yeah. Like, nah, like this is literally my livelihood.
I can kind of compare this a little bit. When Napster and all of those things came out, artists were totally against it because that pretty much changed the whole record industry in a sense. Well, it absolutely did change it. Because now people are able to get your music for free if they want to. Mm-hmm. And that was a shift then. But in the same time, they were still able to come to an agreement to where it's still being sold. It's not being stolen. I mean, it's still being stolen, but there are legal ways to obtain this music. What do you think could be the fix, like, for this AI? Like, is there a fix for the AI situation?
I think it needs to, I don't know how this exactly works, but I think it is in the realm of compensation for every single musician artist that was built. To me, the problem that I have with is not the tool. I have the problem that this tool was built and it was utilized using a lot of people's music and intellectual property, and it wasn't paid for. If I get royalties for every single time that Suno or whomever processes something and then it gets X amount of streams, then I'm okay with that. Now, granted, some people are not okay with that. Some people are still like, no, I'm not with that at all. But for example, I ran the math. If there's 20 million songs that were trained off this thing, let's say this is the totality of it, right? 20 million songs. Well, AI music generates between 1 billion streams for every 3 to 7 days. Okay. So you calculate that into 1 billion streams per week divided by 20 million people in percentage form. All right. Well, that factors out to a royalty percentage. That percentage needs to go to everybody that this music was trained upon. Period. And I would like to see it perpetual. I would like to see this no matter what. If Suno or Udio is going to continue to exist, or any other model that is going to be trained based upon stuff that is built off of Suno and Udio, that needs to be retroactive. And that check needs to hit my bank account every week or however often that happens.
I agree.
And it may not be a ton. If they only trained off of 3 songs, or if they trained off of 400, I want that percentage of whatever that is, and I want that factored in. And that's the way that's the only reasonable solution if this is going to exist and we can't stop it.
I think what you just said, what you hinted to about, it's not about, trying to track somebody down for it's the principle. Give me what I'm supposed to get based off the formula and what you just described. Yep. That's cool. Even if it hits me, my account quarterly or however you want to chop it up, then I feel better knowing that I'm being compensated however much it is. Yeah. It's done on the up and up. Yep. For me, I'm in the camp with you. Like, it wouldn't bother me if that was the case.
Yeah.
Depending on what the percentage is.
What the percentage is and what the damages fee is going to be on top of it. There's damages for illegally doing this, even though if it's like in a weird YouTube scraping clause like you signed up for it, that's still what's the word I'm looking for? Malintent.
Yeah.
In a type of way. And, like I want compensated for it. I want my lump sum, and then I want my percentage.
You know what I think? I think a lot of people will look at this as something it'll be deemed as impossible. But this shit is not impossible. This can, like you said, you use retroactively. This can be done. There are teams that can put this together, calculate it, do whatever you need formula wise, and people can get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like the notion that this is impossible, I don't believe that. This can be done. It can be done
within this system of capitalism. This is the solution, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it just needs to be a fair situation, because this is, I've seen people kind of compare AI to sampling. It's not the same, because with sampling, you still have to credit somebody that you sampled from, and they are compensated for that.
There are legal things in place for sampling.
Right.
there. It is
right. So
if you sample and you don't say who you got it from, then you are literally
paying more.
You are in the wrong, and you can be sued.
Yeah.
That's not the way the AI stuff works. Right
not
now.
at all. It's
That's
the
crazy.
wild, wild west.
Like with this. Think about with Lord Tariq and Peter Guns. Remember we had the song Uptown
man.
Baby? Well, the song caught fire before they did the paperwork and the due diligence. So
They got cooked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They got cooked.
Steely
100%.
Dan it was Black
Was it
Cow.
100%?
100%. They are listed. Steely Dan are listed as the writers.
Writers, yeah.
Lord Tariq and Peter Guns don't even get writers credit for that record.
Yeah, what's his name from the Police did the same thing on
Sting.
Sting did that Puffy on Missing You song.
And then, and he cleared that sample. But it was just like,
and he said in the interview how, I can't remember the number. He talked about how much bread he makes monthly off that song ever since they did that.
Yeah.
To this day, he's still getting X amount of dollars per month, and it was a crazy number. I just can't remember what it was, but he was getting a lot of bread off that song.
Speaking even deeper on this too, because Mike said something in there, Open Mike Eagle. He said something that I think was very important. Kind of towards the end, he said, well, he argued that the ultimate goal of these platforms like Spotify is to own the AI generated copyrights and then pay themselves royalties.
Mm-hmm.
Are we watching the literal funded replacement of the human artist right now?
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's living in the Matrix, man. They're replacing everybody with robots. And that's very unfortunate, because I think I've said this before. I'm thinking it's going to be a time where artists are going to work for a business. You're going to clock in, go in and be an artist. They're going to own all the stuff that you do, and you're going to be paid an hourly wage.
That already exists, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like musically?
I don't know what it's... I mean, there's different places, like you can get hired to just make music for like a video game or
licensing.
Yeah, in a type of way, like you can, like corporations will hire people just to come in just to make like background music and stuff like that to some degree. Yeah. No, that exists.
But Terry, you were talking more towards the point of actual records, right? Like actual records.
But they won't even need that anymore. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, like
I don't honestly, I hope that I'm not wrong here. I don't feel like that humans are going to want to be entertained all by computers.
Sure.
I'm just hoping that we don't get that far fetched, or you know what I'm saying, that
at
far
least the
gone.
illusion. The illusion is there to be that it's like still made by humans to some degree.
Yeah, but you talked about the Matrix comparison, and to see the human aspect of certain things gradually get phased out is crazy. Watching it in real time, it's crazy to see how certain things are just slowly but surely getting phased out and replaced by technology.
It's almost like it's being spoon fed to the point where everybody just accepts it, and this is just going to be the way that it is, and we're just listening to whatever AI decides to send us.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, these corporations are becoming monopolies, especially if they're trying to do that. They're trying not to pay the actual artists. They're creating and owning these AI businesses and creating artists that way and still paying themselves. So what he said there was a bar, man, because that's nuts. Like it's weird to even think that we made it here.
It's almost graduated from, I think I mentioned this last week, but we've almost kind of graduated from capitalism into techno-feudalism in a way to where, like, you know, feudalism being monarchies, right? So you have kings and queens, and then everybody else is underneath. And now it's like the tech companies and everybody else kind of
Underneath.
looking for scraps, paying the. It's going to get to a point where we have to pay them to even host our music, to the point to where like we don't even make any music from. We just pay them so we get the visibility of it. And,
all of it, like,
which is kind of what it is now to a degree.
It seems like that's going on in every facet of life, though. Like, even there's a situation with bowling right now. So some big people own pretty much all of the bowling alleys, and I think it's called, what is PBA, things of that nature. And they are pretty much trying to ban leagues.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, because they want to pretty much get paid every time somebody comes into the bowling alley. And I don't know when the last time y'all been to a bowling alley, but it's gotten pretty expensive.
Has it?
Yeah, it's pretty, like, you take a family to bowl on a Friday night, you're probably going to be out of $100 easy.
Bro,
Wow.
It's funny it's crazy that you said that, because I was amazed that the shoe rental per game prices and concessions, all of that used to be, you know what it was when we were coming up.
Sure.
To see how everything has evolved, man, it's crazy. Like you said, $100 is not far-fetched, depending on how many people. You could take 3 people out there and be out of $100 easy at a bowling alley now.
No,
right,
I mean,
right now there's a situation going on to where the bowlers are fighting back. They're pretty much saying that this is a monopoly. You can't own all of this stuff and then try to eliminate one of the things that brought people into bowl in the first place, or one of the things that like get people out of the house. And it's very much compared to, I feel like, to something like this, with corporations owning these systems and trying to put things in play to where I'm going to eliminate these artists. And even if you are on our platform, you're going to get paid. We're going to get paid off of you. And we're going to keep using this AI generated material that we trained from your voice. And you ain't going to see none of that.
Yeah. Here's another thing too. So with the music already severely devalued in the streaming area, as Mike said, which I've said many times, it's almost like saw myself in a mirror when he said that. Kind of answer this a little bit. I'm curious, as we've gone through this conversation, if you've got any other type of thoughts, but what should artists not only demand, not only from the government, but from the corporate institutions that are stealing this intellectual property?
Ownership.
accountability.
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be so hard, because once again, we're talking about a capitalistic situation where, like, they'll get away with as much as they can get away with before another part of the system breaks.
Yeah.
You know, there has to be some sort of walkout situation, you know. I mean, but then you already have, like, when we talked about Spotify, how, you know, the CEO of Spotify, he doesn't really care about what you put out there. He just wants you to keep putting stuff out there.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's going to be what it is, you know, when we look at this AI thing, and they're just like, hey, we need to feed the machine. And you're like, well, why should I feed the machine?
Yep.
And there has to be a breaking point, or we're going to be like, it's going to be like in Macross Plus with Sharon Apple. I know that was a really nerdy deep dive there.
It's all right.
You know, but somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. And another part of the system has to break before, honestly, this doesn't get completely out of hand.
I think it has to be a full level of class consciousness too. I think that's a whole nother
There
piece.
has to be. It has, and this is what's going to make it so hard. Everybody who is a creator has to say, okay, you know, we're going to stop right here and right now.
That's what I was going to say.
We're not going to.
Needs to be a full strike.
We're not going to, until there is some sort of apparatus in place to hold these AI companies accountable, and therefore these streaming companies accountable, because they're all in bed together, and there's not going to be anything for the beast to eat off of.
Yeah, there needs to be something like when all the actors and actresses went on strike.
They have a great union.
Yeah, they do. There needs to be something put in place like that, and there needs to be a class action type of situation to where all of the artists are going to the government in order to shut down these AI engines that are using this music. And until there's an agreement in place, that needs to cease.
Yeah.
So, like, if that takes a year or 2 years, however long that it takes for them to figure out what is going to be fair to artists, if we're uploading this music into these AI engines, there should pretty much be unlawful right now for any of these engines to use anything musically, especially artists. You know what I'm saying? So I think something like that would help, but everybody has to be on the same page. and realize that this is for your betterment for now and the future.
I guess my thing would be, I actually agree with y'all in terms of as a potential or possible solution. But you have a lot of people, I think there would be pushback from a standpoint of, yes, we want to fight the machine, but this is also how I feed my family. So can I do a year and some change as litigation goes through and this and that, as we strike and we just say we're not going to do this and that? How many people are going to be willing to truly do that to see a better outcome?
Again, this is why I think, maybe I'm on that revolutionist talk because I just watched an entire 2-hour interview with Boots Riley and Hassan Piker today. But
shout out to Cool.
But at the same time, like, it has to be kind of focused around class consciousness. And like, we all have to buy into the fact that, like, this is what we need.
Right.
Like, this is the issue. Like, we can't be passive in the sense of being like when some, like with what you just said, we're like, well, all right, cool. There are going to be people like that, but that shouldn't stop you.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, don't let that stop you from the thing that you're doing next. Like, don't let the fact that everybody else is doing this dissuade you, and you can still build within the people that are a part of it and let the other people fall in line when they fall in line. You know what I mean?
I'm not mad at
they're
that.
going to do like a cease and desist, like I was kind of thinking, to where they can't, these machines can't use your music. That doesn't eliminate your job, especially if this is the only thing that you do. So if everybody came together and was like, look, we need y'all to figure out the laws and things of that nature and write up something. But in the same token, until we all agree, AI cannot use anybody's music to train. You know what I'm saying? Train off of their stuff.
And for example, let's say there is a strike from the perspective of, all right, fine. All the music that's being scraped right now is from YouTube and Spotify and streaming platforms. Cool. The strike is, we will not upload our music there. We will remove our music from there. We will not allow it to be public from there. You can still get your music if you come over to me. We'll give it to you that way. We will sell you individual stuff. Artists are going to have to adapt. But to be honest, us artists, we should not have used streaming as a crutch for as long as we have.
Yeah.
And, to me, maybe this is the foot in the ass to potentially get, people to, us artists, to maybe go more down that, stop using the streaming as a crutch and to be passive about our art and to be more hands-on with our art and to be more intentional about the art that we're going to make. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not going to be hard or challenging. I'm just saying it's necessary.
Very hard. Yeah.
Well, there's always going to be that person be like, well, what if I got to feed my family? I was like, well, you know what about the rest of our families? And see, that's where it's hard to make an argument. But but in the long term, like, if we don't do something now, nobody will be able to feed their families with art.
Yep.
The way it's trending,
and because you don't think they won't find. I mean, because we talked about how, okay, well, there'll always be the live performance. But, once again,
it's all owned by Live Nation, though.
But once again, then referencing, like I said, real deep dive, Sharon Apple, or even if you see how they did those holograms of Tupac, you don't think they won't train AI to start figuring out how to put people on stage, and then they'll charge you for that. And there'll be people who be like, well, this is good enough. Just like there are people who feel like, okay, well, I used to buy CDs, tapes, and albums, but I'll pay my $9.95 or whatever it is your streaming service costs, and this is good enough.
Yeah,
see, the
I got
thing
the
is,
whole library.
Yeah, you can't get the idea of like, this is fine out of people. Just like there are people who like myself who used to go to the movies all the time. I don't. Well, I'm like, well, I'll just wait and it'll show up. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
And so like, and I understand, like, in the way that might make me a hypocrite. Because I'm one of those people that I don't go to the movies like I used to, but I still insist on buying physical media.
Right.
Even if I'm not going to do anything with it, but put it in a frame and use it as an art piece.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have become complacent and accepting of the things the way that they are now. Because I mean, like, everybody sitting in here, we all are people that would go buy physical copies every Tuesday, every time something came out.
True.
Even before that, we were going to buy records, and you just sat down and watched something on a Rap City. You went and got the single because you had just heard it. But we got used to being able to consume things in such a fast manner. And while that was happening and being acceptable, people were finding other things. Well, if they accept that, let's figure something else out. And now we have this that is pretty much the nail in the coffin when it comes to music as a whole to me, because there's no way that people can rebound if the art that I've spent all of these years making is now being trained and people are using this to make the music that, you know what I'm saying, I've been trying to build my resume and my expertise on it. And now you can just type in my name and you can rap or sound just like me and just put your own voice on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I hope we can figure something out, because it
Sure.
seems like we're too far gone the way everything is just accepted.
Terry just made a very good point, and I think that's the scariest. To me, that's one of the, if not the scariest part about all of this, is there seems to appears to be a loophole every single time. Progress, loophole. Progress, loophole. Lone was talking about the concept of the strike. To me, in my mind, it's like, damn, but there's going to be another loophole. So they just keep going over one another. And that's the scary part, because there's always a way out.
There's
it
always
feels like
an
the
enemy
machine
of the
always
state.
has a way out.
Well,
Yeah.
the way out is,
You see what I'm saying?
you gotta set fire on things.
Fahrenheit 451.
We've seen movements in our own country. We've seen it through the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. You know, we've seen Fred Hampton to
Kwame Ture.
when you go back and you look at the ideologies of these radicals, of these people that were pushing for this change,
Who were
they're
considered radicals.
considered radicals,
Considered.
but they're all Marxists or communists. They're all people that are looking for, that have a very similar worldview in how they are attempting to not necessarily change one metric of whatever it is. It's literally like change the system. Like
Restructure.
we can't like fix AI without fixing the system. Does that make sense?
It
And
makes
so
sense.
like if you look at it from the fact that this is a system of capitalism, techno-feudalism, where there's a big, somebody that owns everything underneath it, and it needs to be more of a thing where it's a labor movement where workers have the power, where labor has the power, where the people have the power. When you just say it like that, it doesn't seem very crazy. It doesn't seem crazy, but it is when all of the power lies in the few that hold ownership of everything. So
Absolutely.
So sure, like it's very easy to look at this like, man, how do we combat AI? To your point, Mike, when all these things are stacked up, but realistically what it comes down to is it needs to be a foundational movement of the structure of the system.
You are now listening or watching the New Old Heads podcast. Our official 1-hour episode is released every Saturday at noon Eastern, where we share our exclusive uncut 2-hour episode to our YouTube members and Patreon members early every Wednesday. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Indie City and Vinyl, Decademics, and Bringing Down the Band. And most importantly, you. You can support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads, where we embrace the new, respect the old, and remain ahead.
So Boots Riley, he recently talked radicalism in art and life. Former member of the Coup and film director for Sorry to Bother You, and also the recent I Love Boosters. He recently sat down with political streamer Hassan Piker for 2 hours to talk politics and such. So I have 3 small little clips here. We'll kind of do what we did last week with the Lord Jamar stuff and play it, ask a question, talk about it, and we'll just kind of keep moving through it.
We had this song off Genocide and Juice called Fat Cats and Bigger Fish. And Fat Cats and Bigger Fish was as much of a hit as we could have had. It was just getting requested and playing all day in LA and in Chicago. It was selling 5,000 copies a week because of the radio play. Now, often when they do radio play, it doesn't have that sort of traction. And so other people were telling me, oh, that's the platinum formula. If you can do that, you just duplicate that other ways. That's what EMI is going to do. We were on EMI Records. Anyway, EMI bought the record whole hog from the indie they were working with, Wild Pitch. And we got excited. We were like, they bought it. They bought the second half. They were 50-50 partners. They bought it. So, and we're doing well on the radio. So obviously they're about to take it wide. And they bought it. And the next week they were like, we're not working it. So I got depressed. I was like,
so they bought it to kill it.
They bought it to kill it. And so I was like, damn, what am I doing? At that point, I was 24. And I was like, I've been wasting my whole life being an artist.
This is a historic example, but if major labels are actively buying up independent records specifically to shelve them and kill their momentum, how can a truly disruptive artist such as him ever achieve mainstream distribution without being silenced? But let's kind of flip that question. How does that happen today? Because obviously back then that's a whole nother thing, right?
Today, honestly, you can't be silenced. Now, if you have you're looking for a record label or somebody to help push the situation, that's a different story. But the advantage that we have right now is I can just put this out so anybody can consume my message. But in the same token, a lot of people have to agree with the message or feel how powerful the message is to share it amongst themselves or amongst friends. And hopefully that gains a buzz and, you know what I'm saying, builds that way. But honestly, if a record label or the record industry wants to kill an album, they have the means and the money to do so. So
yeah, I guess if you're operating within that mainstream system, I think so.
Yeah,
and I think even within the question itself, I think I kind of see the answer to this question. Is,
well, I'm with you on the main.
Yeah.
The part that you just the mainstream part.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I mean they're going to dead whatever they're going to dead.
100%. Yeah,
they will. And we talked about the ills of the digital age, you know, just a few minutes ago. But that's one of the things that's good about the digital age is that there isn't somebody or a group of shareholders that can just say, nah, we don't like that. We don't want our kids to hear that, you know, because if it has real motion, like the song he was talking about, I remember it was, you know, there was a video for it. I remember seeing it on MTV.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like the coup was like they were just pushed down to the bottom. Like I remember them having mainstream looks,
No,
you
that's
know,
real.
being in, you know, quote unquote mixed show. It's not like, you know, I'm like, oh, who is this group, the coup? When I see Boots Riley, I remember them being on TV, and you know, being on the radio. And so like, I think now we're in a situation to where you just can't kill a movement like that. You know, even if you want to, you can say, okay, we're not going to have this on the radio. But once again, the relationship between radio and records is nowhere near what it was in the 1990s when he's talking about his record being out. At one point, it was a symbiotic relationship. They definitely needed each other. So if somebody in, you know, one of those boardrooms says, no, we're going to kill this, it was done. Now, you know, honestly, the stuff that's on the radio I'm not going to say it doesn't resonate with people because radio is still very powerful. But, you know, someone like Larry June, who has a real following,
JPEG Mafia.
You know, there are people that have no, you know, even on the other side, NBA Youngboy. The people they have no relationship with radio.
Yeah.
And they're still able to do what they have to do and reach the people. If the people pick you, then there's only so much that the people in the ivory towers can do to quell whatever it is your message is. Now, are they going to push another message?
Yeah.
Yes, they're going to push it, you know, until they burn it out, and then they'll just find someone else to push the bullshit. But, you know, as far as like something that actually has a counterculture message, and if people are actually, you know, into it, then there's really not. There's nobody that can really just push the button and say shut that down.
I just don't think. I mean, like you said, counterculture movements don't really exist in the mainstream. I mean, on the fringes a little bit. You know, you might see it here or there. You might see them pop up with, again, like back in the day. You might have known the coup, right? You might have seen certain things, but you're not going to get the full gist of it, you know, unless they are just fully undeniable, you know, Rage Against the Machine type.
You gotta hide it in the applesauce.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's
because the coup was like a one. It was like they were out, but it's like a one-off. It wasn't.
No.
Man,
They had, you know,
well, he means
genocide and Juice. Come on,
No,
I don't know what I'm talking about.
He means one-off in the sense of there weren't a lot of the coups.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, no. I mean, just like there weren't a lot of Public Enemies, there weren't a lot of X-Clans.
There's never been a lot of the politically charged artists, but
That have
there was
crossed
a time,
over like that.
right? But
That
there was a
part.
time where they could thrive because the message was so potent and it sounded good. Like you just brought up Rage Against the Machine. A lot of people that were into Rage Against the Machine and artists like that weren't even really listening to what they were talking about.
Hell no.
So when they actually found out where they stood, it's like, hold on, I thought you was with me. And it's like, you didn't listen to what the I was talking about.
Well, I think even bigger is specifically with the Rage and also to the Boots thing. And I watched this interview, so I kind of saw what he was talking about. He's like, like people are a lot closer. You change minds through emotion and through emotional connection. And, just getting on here and just preaching at the top of your lungs that something isn't necessarily going to convert somebody.
Exactly.
But, it's like the movie he made, Sorry to Bother You. It's got a very big political message in that.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's like, it's kind of inviting at the same time.
Because it was so off.
It's off, but it's also like, it's a little weird. It's not like in your face
it's
directly.
Funny.
It kind of invites people in at their own leisure, if you will. That's one of the reasons why I like Hassan Piker as a streamer, because he is, or as a political analyst in the way he does, he understands the theory and all the stuff that he does, but he doesn't approach it in a way of like, I'm just going to hit you with theory all day, every day. And I'm going to be like, oh, you're not doing this right. He's like, nah, my goal is to bring people from here to here.
Yeah.
And that's what I think good art should be able to do.
You don't want to feel like you're being preached to.
Yeah.
You want to feel like that you're being educated, but at the same time entertained.
They're bringing you from here to here. Rage brought you from here to here.
Yeah.
They brought the people that were like completely anti-establishment to the people that were maybe a little bit upset at their jobs, and it kind of let people meet in the middle, and then those people work that out, and then you have that, and you can kind of like unpack that indoctrination maybe a little bit if on your own terms, you know what I mean? But it's bringing people there. So yeah, but back to this thing, like I don't think it can really be truly achieved in the mainstream like that. But I do think, to your guys' point, I do think the counterculture movements have a lot more potential now, really, than anything, to potentially thrive and to live in their own kind of sect.
And it's crazy because hip hop at one point in time was the counterculture. So it had all of these different artists and messages all intertwined in the same counterculture, but it's been taken over by corporations.
Yeah.
And then something like Boots Riley's talking about happens, where your song that has traction is now being bought. So you've now received some money for it to be shelved. So now you don't make anything else off of it.
Yeah.
And him speaking as an artist, I think is very important, because some people will be okay with you receiving compensation for it because it was bought. But if more of it was about me getting this message across at the same time, then now I feel like you bought my silence, because I can still perform the song, but you slowed down all the movement.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I'm saying, shut my water off, essentially. So as somebody that actually wants to be involved
exactly
in making artistry, you know what I'm saying? That's draining. That can do a lot to you.
Or really legitimately wants to change the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, this little bit of money is cool and all, but it's not helping my intentions. Money
this doesn't pacify me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here's another one.
So Rage Against the Machine, they were going to do a music video for Sleep Now in the Fire. And it was going to be directed by Michael Moore. Their whole idea was, hey, we're going to go on Wall Street, play loud, get arrested, and that's going to be the music video. So they go, they play once, nothing happens, some security doors close. They play again. People are kind of looking, nothing's happening. The third time they start playing, they start hearing this noise that goes, rah, rah, rah. They don't know what it is. It's just getting louder. Coming from around the corner, they see a horde of people in business suits coming toward them. And they're the ones that are going, rah, rah, rah. As they get closer, they can tell what that noise is. It's that horde of people in business suits who obviously work on Wall Street saying, suits for rage, suits for rage. And there's that contradiction. They're saying it in the thing. They're saying, we're suits, we work on Wall Street, we like what Rage Against the Machine is saying. And I think that has to do with, in general, that most people in the world, and even in the United States, wish that the world was different.
Which kind of speaks to what we were just talking about a little bit. So when Wall Street executives in business suits are cheering along to a radical anti-system music, does it prove the message is breaking through, or has the corporate class successfully neutralize the art, which kind of goes to what we were talking about.
Well, it's also a thing where there are uncool people who want to feel cool, even if it's just for a minute.
Sure.
And
but maybe that's the power of that.
And yeah.
You know what I mean? In a way?
I think that's what it is, because at the same time, if you ask those people in suits, well, do you want the whole concept of what it is that you get up and go to work every day and do to be neutralized and dismantled, they'd probably say no.
Right.
But they do like the idea of countercultural movements, but they don't like the practical application that would actually take something away from them.
They're not going to sign up for the program. They'll attend the information meeting, but they're not going to sign up for it. It's kind of similar to, I don't know if y'all have seen the movie. Well,
liberalism.
I know a lot of people here have seen I'm Going to Get You Sucker, but the part where he talks about the group going in City Hall with guns and they came out with jobs.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, in this situation, these people, we talking about Wall Street suits, they're making a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
I might still be down with the message that you're talking about, but I'm not quitting my job to stand with you. I might support you from where I'm at, but I'm going to clock in tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get this money. And it's like the message is always, you know what I'm saying? It means well to them, but it's like, I'm never going to get down and lay down with you. It's kind of like people who identify or like rap music at one point in time in their life or the culture, and then decide that that's beside me now. That was just a moment in time that, you know what I'm saying, I was just into it. You weren't really into it.
You like the music.
You like the music, and you wanted
like
to be
how it
cool.
made you feel.
It made you feel cool.
Yeah.
It's just like when I brought this up before on the show, when there was one night, it was when the Republicans had, taken over like the House and the Senate, and that was during one of the midterms. And, local Indianapolis Republicans came into Coach's Tavern and to, kind of gather and I guess celebrate. And, when it was time for them to request songs, they'd be like, I want to hear Public Enemy.
Yeah.
I want to hear Too Short.
Or NWA.
I want to, you want to hear all these things. And it's like, oh, you must have only been listening to the beat, or you must have liked wearing the T-shirt because it made you seem cool, or even just you got to wear the accoutrement of counterculturalism, when you're in high school, and didn't actually have to.
You didn't have to live it.
Yeah, you didn't have to live it. You could take it off when you were done, and then still go and have your right wing beliefs and work on Wall Street or whatever it is that you do.
Yeah.
And if that's who you are, but but it's like, all right, man. Like, in a way, I'm like, okay, here's something we could all unite under, but at the same time, I hear the music and identify with it. You hear the music, and it's just something for you to dance to and take off once you're done with it.
We've seen that for years, though. We've seen people associate themselves with the culture to a certain extent, because it's kind of like what Terry was talking about. Yeah, I'm down. I like it. Like how it makes me feel. I'm cool, but I'm not going to risk anything for the betterment of what I'm listening to, if that makes sense. It's not about the culture, it's about association. Yeah, we're going to tiptoe around the edges, but I'm not really about to, and like he said, the concept about, potentially losing your job for something.
You're still part of the establishment at the end of the day. They're never going to sign up for the program.
100%.
And in the same thing, it exists, you know what I'm saying, corporately, it exists politically, all of that. It doesn't matter what facet of life you're in. If you feel like something that was cool, you're only going to think it's cool. You're not going to act on the actual strengths that it's bringing up or the points that it's trying to make.
Yeah.
You're only identifying with the cool.
It moves you to a certain point, but there's always a limit when we talk about stuff like this. People will get to the edge. Nobody's going to immerse themselves in the actual culture, but they'll look good just being around is the way I see it.
No, it's just like, because I know we get on him on a regular, but he deserves it. Kid Rock, I remember seeing him, in one of these hip hop documentaries talk about how much he loves Public Enemy, but once again, he was just putting that on as a costume to seem cool and to seem like he was about something. But, when
I got black friends,
but in his real life, he's all about wearing that Confederate flag. That's who he really is.
There you go. That's real.
Do the third one here.
always been critiques of hip hop that people will have, revolutionaries will have, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, look, if we make that movement, and I keep summing it up as a mass militant radical labor movement, if we make that, we create the artists. We're having artists that are created in a world where there wasn't a movement that shaped their politics, right? And I always blame it on the radical movements because I always say that we ran away from class struggle for 50, 60 years.
Which is a different take on this conversation that we have, like why are the mainstream artists kind of the way that they are right now? In a way. So Boots Riley argues that the culture ran away from the explicit class struggle. So has hip hop's multi-decade obsession with luxury and wealth effectively sterilized its capacity to make conversation shifting art, or is it, that's one question, but I think another question is based upon kind of what he said. Is it more so related to the fact that this is what people are looking up to?
Yes.
I think the money aspect of it is, to your point, it is what people are looking up to, but it's also being rewarded like that. It's the thing that's being rewarded the most, is that concept. So the opposite of that is just by nature is going to get pushed back, because this is what we're being rewarded for. This is what's being pushed to the forefront. So I think that has a lot to do with it. It's just what's being pushed. It's like we were talking about programming. Same thing, same concept.
I think it has a lot to do too with that's just part of the black culture as a whole. I mean, we come from a lineage of people that were kings and queens, and you know what I'm saying, had gold and, you know what I'm saying, emblems and things of that nature. That is something that's literally in your DNA at some point in time, you know what I'm saying, to want to have nice things. I mean, they talked about it a lot they talk about it a lot in hip hop, but it kind of took over in the 90s as far as it being super glamorous because they were actually making money. But like, again, this is nothing new in black culture. Like, we like to have relics that show that we're not stuck in that same area or same point of life that you pretty much tried to stop on us and make us live. You know what I'm saying? So once people got to a place in life where they could actually have something and do something, they're doing it, and they're still doing it in hip hop. Is just one of those things. But if you want to say hyper focus on just the materialistic things, I think that's a different story, because I think it's always going to come with success as a black person. And it doesn't have to be stuff that show off to people. It can just be with, you know what I'm saying, rich in life and how you're living and things of that nature. I think that has a lot to do with it too.
Well, Terry kind of already alluded to this, is like, when you talk about that scene in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, where Clarence Williams the third's, his character was like, hey, we went down there with guns and we came out with jobs. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened in hip hop. We went down to the establishment with guns and ideas and medallions and trying to tell the fight the power and talking about the system. And we walked out with jobs.
You became a part of the system.
And you became a part of the system. And that's what a lot of rappers, you are right now. You went down, you traded your gun in, metaphorically, if you will, for a job. Just because that job, because that job could pay you with a few trinkets that symbolize success.
It afforded you royalty.
So you were able to go ahead and justify the fact that you put down your gun for that job.
It's just like the movie They Live. I don't know if you remember that part. Remember there's a homeless encampment that Hacksaw Jim, that's who it was, right? No, Roddy Piper. But he's in there, and there's this one guy in there, and one of the guys, they like abduct him or whatever, and he ends up working for them. They just give him more money.
Yeah.
And so they show up in that scene. They're like, "Oh, you guys came over too." It's like, "Yeah, it's pretty nice over here."
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, you see so many. I remember there was this miniseries called V back in the day.
Yeah. I used to be kind of scared of V.
Yeah, there was a reason to be scared. It was kind of freaky. Yeah. But like, the aliens came down here, and like, there are people who got down with the aliens because they were like, okay, they increased their rations, and they gave you a little position, and you thought, okay, that made you special. It made you feel good. And didn't realize they were just fattening you up because they was going to eat you just like the rest of them, just like everybody else. And they were going to steal your resources, and you were going to be left with nothing, just like everybody. But it's just while you were being taken from, and while you were being exploited, you got to feel just a little bit better than the next man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with it too. Like, it got to a point where, you know what I'm saying, if you're successful as somebody that's black, there's just certain things that represent success. And hip hop, I think hip hop's one of the messages was to try to teach people to not live in the struggle. But I'm going to show you that I'm not living in the struggle too, because you see what I have on, you see how I'm dressed. Whether it's true or not, it's a fake it till you make it type of situation. And I don't think that that's the whole message that they're trying to portray. But I feel like people have always wanted to be in a position to have nice things. And it's just one of those things that we like to show you that we have nice things.
I think what you said is spot on as it relates to culturally always wanting to aspire to have nice things just in the culture. I agree with that 100%. But I also think that social media is put it on steroids, because now everything that you see, even if it's an illusion, it's impactful because people scroll through just to see people living it. They're living the lifestyle. That impacts the culture as well, because now we can see it even more than we could in the era that we're talking about, the 90s leading up to now. Everything is on full display, and we can see all of the people that are quote unquote living the way that they live.
Mm-hmm.
People are impressionable, especially now. Everybody's scrolling, looking, TikTok, all that. So I think that goes into it as well, because it's times 10 now, because everybody can see it day to day.
I think
that affects, just people's mindset in general. It goes back to programming.
I think that's why the message is important. So even if I'm showing you that I have nice things, the message needs to be that I didn't do nothing crazy to get these nice things, so to speak. Because,
or you're still who you are. You still live by the same principles that you know, or things of that nature.
Because I think a lot of times people associate having nice things in hip hop with crime or bad shit.
Yep.
Essentially,
or you took the deal, like you went out there and like you put down your gun and you took the job, and so like you can be seen as a bit of a sellout.
You sold out.
It doesn't matter what kind of music you make. That's why there have been times where like certain artists. I think that's why they don't floss in a certain way.
Yeah,
because it would hinder your ability to see them. Like what if you found, there are some people who would be disappointed they found out Black Thought had a Rolls Royce.
No, for sure.
or if Common, drove around in an extended, $150,000 Range Rover.
It goes to the misconstruement or the false narrative that because you have money, it means that you no longer are a part of said idea or movement or whatever, right? It's Boots Riley, for example. He's no longer a part of the working class, but he is a communist. He literally is a self-proclaimed communist. He said it literally in this interview, and he lives by those ideas. And you don't equate that type of idea, or when you think of somebody with money, you think capitalist, right? Immediately. And he's very much for advocating for the class struggle and the class struggle that is happening. And all these examples that we're giving are people that are They understand the class struggle from different perspectives, right? And some people think that defeating the class struggle is self-improvement.
Right.
And that's it. And that's not defeating the class struggle. That's
not where it stops.
That's you getting out of the situation that you're in and being in a better position. But that doesn't address the fact that this entire system that the people that you had to come up in still exists for the next person.
There you go. And I think his concept or his idea about Black Thought, I think you said Black Thought.
Yeah, like if you thought out Black Thought and they rolled up and they both had twin Rolls Royces, and it'd be like they were Puffy and Mace in '97.
I think Black Thought and Common are great examples of people who have worked and earned, what they've received wealth-wise and, with their music careers. But there's a level of authenticity that has always been involved with them throughout their career. They've never wavered on their principles. They've always stayed consistent. I think that's the difference. You know, those
the message,
the message never changed. Nothing shifted just because they became successful and copped the cribs or whatever you want to call it. They were consistently who they've been since we've watched them and known them. And I think that is the important part because they've never changed to my knowledge.
I mean, from an individualist perspective, I think yes. But I think also I want to be careful in general to like, you know, just because somebody goes out and gets a job because it's better for their situation does not necessarily mean that they're sellouts necessarily.
Right.
Agreed.
You know, because they are trying to do better. It depends on what they do within that system. But it's very easy because the system wants to kind of stick you with the needle and have you dormant, you know, in that particular type of way. But at the end of the day, whether you're Black Thought or Common or you're Gucci Mane or whomever, you know, like they're still individuals at the end of the day, right? And the struggle of what it is still exists. And if there's not effort to be put into make people's material conditions better in general, then this is just the cycle is going to continue. And I think that's the root of it all. It's not necessarily like, you know, necessarily even the music.
Cameron here recently said that he does not want to show off his money anymore.
Yeah.
So he's not stepping out the house with big jewelry and things like that on. He still has this money, but it's for me to enjoy myself. I'm not about to flaunt it in front of you to make you feel a certain type of way.
Right.
And I think that's important, you know what I'm saying, in a sense, because
that comes with age.
Yeah, it absolutely comes with age. It's and like the messaging, like you were talking about with Black Thought and Common. I mean, I guarantee you they live very nice.
Yeah.
But it's not the core part of what they're talking about. They're not talking about how much I have and, you know what I'm saying, how much money I got and things of that nature. I mean, the Roots did a song What They Do, which was completely against what everybody in hip hop was doing at the moment.
Yes, sir. And
it described it to a T. The video, if you weren't listening to the message, you would have thought it was exactly like everything else out there.
Except when you used to read the captions, you could tell it was send up all those things.
Yeah, but there was a message behind that, and I feel like they've remained true. But I don't feel like just because you have a message that you should not reward yourself for what you've done and what you've contributed, because at the end of the day, we all want to be successful for ourselves and for our families.
And I think that's a kind of to what Terry was talking about. It's a cultural thing because, you know, culturally, and it's sad to say this, but you're frowned upon as you continue to level up and become more successful, because perception tells people that you're leaving behind, quote unquote, where you came from. And in all actuality, just because I'm leveling up as an individual does not mean I've abandoned my principles. It just means I'm working hard and I'm leveling up to get in a better situation to, I don't know, potentially continue to push my movement or push what I'm working for. But culturally, it's always been frowned upon. Okay, so he's selling out now because he's got a promotion or bought this or got a house or got married. No, that's not it. It's just I'm working hard and I've, you know, achieved success. There's nothing wrong with that. That does not mean that you have to abandon your principles as an individual.
Well, I think
assuming you have principles.
Assuming you have them.
I mean, because
everybody, a lot of people don't.
Well, because, you know, there winds up, and this is, you know, very much an 80s concept, not really 80s, but it was so defined by that Gordon Gekko, like greed is good type thing, where people were defined by the things that they could attain.
Yeah.
They were defined by the Rolex. They were defined by the Armani suits. They were defined by, the SL, that they could, buy, and, their beach houses. Like, those are the things, like when you watch a movie like Wolf of Wall Street, like the character Jordan Belfort is the villain in that movie.
Yeah.
But if you watch it from a certain perspective, and from a perspective of somebody that thinks greed is good, then you're like, oh man, they're coming to get the hero and throw him in jail. I mean, like, and we do a lot that with, but that's how the narrative of film, and sometimes how, like when you watch American Gangster, you're like, oh man, come on, Frank. It's like, no, we shouldn't be rooting for Frank.
Think about Paid in Full, AZ, Rich. These guys, the what they had, that's what it was about. It's the look, it's the Audi, it's all of that. Like, that's what made them who they were. But you still tearing down the community. You selling drugs in your own community at the same time.
But you know what it is? It's like when you begin to be defined by the spoils of war, if you will, then there is no morality.
You go.
Then you're like, well, whatever I had to do to get this, this Mercedes-Benz coupe, the big body coupe, and these nice rings and have this, that, and the third, I did it because I had to do it. And like, there are people who are like, hey man, this is the only game that America left me to play.
There you go.
And so like, that's kind of
They actually helped you play it.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. But like when you kind of hear Boots talk about in different interviews, because I have not seen the I Love Boosters movie, where he says like,
I want to see it now.
Yeah. I do. Even I haven't heard the greatest things, but I want to see it just so I can, be a little bit more learned as far as the conversation, especially when I hear his interviews, because I think it gives a different perspective. It's kind of like when we talked about the scamming ass song that Young Miami has, and how like really
that shit.
How that's essentially a song that is a celebration of failure. How am I going to say that's a celebration of failure, but at the same time the Pentagon cannot balance its books for the 8th year in a row? Because that's scamming too.
Yeah, it's
two things can be true.
Two things can be true.
Absolutely, because I mean the white collar crime exists as well. It's just not talked about and demonized as much as everything else. But like this, actually, the last question that you said actually kind of goes back to the first statement that he made about them removing or pretty much buying him out essentially and removing it from the radio. So that was an idea from a record company that decided to do that because he was pushing a whole different narrative.
Yep.
True.
And now let's hyper focus on consumerism. Me being a record company, I'm going to push the consumerism aspect of this music more because it makes people spend more money, which in turn is going to make them continue to spend with us and along with my corporate friends. So,
and also at the same time, the message that the coup is pushing is in direct opposition to them continually making the type of money that they're going to push.
Yep. So it all kind of ties itself together with those
Not
two
that
questions.
the coup is going to be as big, massive than that. But who knows? You don't know. I mean, Rage Against the Machine was really big.
Yeah, but you know who else is on EMI now? I when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, it was Diggable Planets. And if you listen to both of their albums,
they got a Grammy for that.
And they literally like. They be rocking Clarks. They be reading Marks Where I'm From. Like there was those same messages, but it was just in a little bit of more of a jazzy format.
Easy listening.
There
so to say.
There was some very Diggable Planets was a very anti-establishment group. It's just like we didn't. Maybe the mainstream didn't pick up on it. They just heard like the jazzy riffs, and,
applesauce.
Yeah. And,
listen, what did Dre say? Y'all don't listen to it. Y'all just want to dance.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's kind of easy to hide the message in the applesauce if that's what you want to do. But some people are like the Cool is like, no, I don't want to hide it. I want to tell you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, if you watch the video for that song, there's no hiding what
he's talking about. He actually mentioned, I think it was in this interview, he talked about how like after the first or second album, he realized that the direct type of approach is not necessarily the best approach to it. It's like more so about meeting people where they are emotionally at.
Yeah.
And which kind of goes to a lot of the stuff that he's saying here is like, if you can meet the person where they're emotionally at, they have a better chance to kind of, it's like the sorry to bother you, right? It's the message is there. It's like Idiocracy in a way. Like
it's not in your face.
It's just like, it's showing you the things that exist but it's not pounding it down your throat. And I think from one perspective, funny, but from
be careful. Careful.
But from one perspective, it's like when I think about how indoctrination works and how I look at how we are indoctrinated as capitalist people in society. That's how we were born and into the society, and how communism is negative and anything outside of capitalism is negative. If you're going to unpack that indoctrination in the same way that I had to unpack that to some degree, but also had to unpack white supremacy in different degrees, if somebody's going to yell at me, it's going to be harder for me to retain that information. If I have to discover it on my own through different subtle pieces, and then I can piece it together myself, it's going to feel stronger because it's going to feel like it's coming from me. And what he's doing with this, in general, I feel like now, at least, is introducing the ideas, sparking the conversations, creating that bridge for people to do that next step to go further without being told,
sparking their interest more.
without saying, hey, you're an idiot if you don't know this.
That kind of goes back to school. If you think back to the teachers that you enjoyed the most, none of them, at least me personally, none of them were in your face and pointing and you got to do it like this.
Tony Dungy.
Yeah, the way that they taught the lesson to you made you interested in more.
Yeah.
It made you want to ask questions. You know, you can sit in a class and not ask a question the whole time because it's like, I'm just not feeling this teaching structure.
Sure.
You can go to the next class period with another teacher and you have all kinds of questions because it's engaging. It's making you want to, you know what I'm saying, strive for more knowledge. So yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
NewOldHeads.com for all the education you need this year. Make sure you like it, subscribe, hit any bell that you see for notifications. Also, check out our Patreon where you can get full unedited episodes. That's where all the great stuff happens. We appreciate your support, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Throw down that box.
In a minute.